Hello, let us guide you through the inner workings of this self-ignite Fulcrum Chieftain. This build for a Chieftain heavily relies on the Hindkora, Death Fury Chieftain's passive. There's a 5% chance for one of the enemies you kill to explode, dealing 500% of their life as fire damage. The most efficient way to scale up the damage, as is the case with Detonate Dead skill, is to ignite enemies with it. With the Fulcrum weapon, this ignite is being reflected back to your character. It will suffer no damage from it due to the Tazalio passive that makes you unaffected by ignite. The ignite, now tied to your character, will proliferate to nearby enemies for the next few seconds. To proliferate ignite, use Gloves Eldritch Implicit or allocate Fan of Flames from a cluster jewel. To start this chain reaction, use skills that will also take advantage of your fire setup. The most obvious choices are Fire Trap and RF. It's especially good with Ramako for damage and Valico for durability. To go faster, use Quicksilver Flask and chill yourself. The chill effect will be reversed on you with Winterweave, and inflicting it is guaranteed with Frostblink combined with your weapon. The character is extremely fast, tanky, and excels at fast mapping, or in Simulacrum. Fire Trap and Righteous Fire have good enough damage to make this build viable even if you're not under the effect of the Hindkora's derived explosions. It's not as good as a regular RF in this regard, it's only much better after such explosions take place. It's expected of you to reach 90% resistance to all elements and 200k armor. All you need to do is get tons of maximum fire resistance. All the other elemental resistance will tag along via Tazalio's passive. Your chaos resistance should be capped at 75%. It's very tanky. Clear speed is excellent, but tied to monster density. Single target damage is also good, but only if you manage to burn bosses with the Hindkora's ignite. If not, it's bad. Check the prices of Fulcrum, Defiance of Destiny, and Forbidden Jewels. These are very expensive. The Formless Flame, the Fulcrum, Cloak of Flame, Legacy of Fury, Defiance of Destiny, Winterweave, and Deathrush are our recommended unique gear pieces. It's hard to come up with anything better adjusted for this build. The Formless Flame massively increases your armor with the fire resistance you've accumulated. Armor will mitigate physical damage, but also some elemental damage with the Unbreakable passive, and even chaos damage with armor and energy shield mastery. With Fulcrum, the ignites you cause with Hindkora's passive, and from Fire Trap, will be reflected back to you. With Ignite Proliferation, this ignite will also affect all nearby enemies. With Tazalio passive, you will suffer no damage from these ignites. We recommend Cloak of Flame due to the increased ignite duration and 40% of physical damage taken as fire, which you have 90% resistance to. It even grants you tons of fire resistance, up to 75% of it. Big in terms of offense and defense alike. Brass Dome is a more defensive option if you have the Unbreakable passive and if you absolutely need the extra maximum resistances to reach 90%. It causes you to take no damage from crits, but your ignite duration won't be extended, and it grants no fire res, which is not great. Legacy of Fury are the best in slot boots for any fire character. It massively increases your clear speed due to the explosions, and scorches the enemies, which increases your DPS. Your character is extremely durable against hits, so it's unlikely for him to get one-shotted. It has relatively low life recovery as it can't leech from dots, so it can often lack some portion of its life pool. The Defiance of Destiny is the best option in such a scenario, by healing you if this damage is low, which it is, on account of your high durability. Impresence, Fire, Full Power, is the amulet we've used in the gameplay footage. It lets us have the blasphemous flammability and elemental weakness curses permanently on. It reduces the fire resistance of nearby enemies by a lot. It's the offensive option. Death Rush grants you the adrenaline buff for damage, movement speed, and physical damage reduction. The life on kill is impactful as well. Use it if you don't plan to face any major single targets, as it works only after you kill an enemy. You can self-chill yourself with Frostblink and Fulcrum. Instead of suffering the negative effects of it, Winterweave increases your action speed, which results in more movement speed. It's also increased while you're ignited, which you are. Transmogrify your eternal youth into supreme ostentation with elegant hubris so that you won't need attributes. It will also allow you to get up to 100% fire resistance, from 2 crematorium worker passives, by spending only 2 additional skill points, with a specific role, which is good for your already high armor. Rational Doctrine. With your strength being the highest, which it is, you will be constantly under the effect of consecrated ground for a lot of life regeneration and reduced curse effect on you. With a proper flask modifier, it will make you unaffected by curses. Get the Unbreakable passive from a pair of Forbidden Jewels. It's excellent with high armor for elemental damage mitigation, and you do have a lot of it, around 200k. Look for the extra damage over time multiplier from Malevolence and some physical damage taken as fire from Purity of Fire on your Watcher's Eye. These are the best mods. The process of scaling up your damage is the same as in Death Wish or Detonate Dead Ignite builds, meaning you don't need much, as the explosion is a type of secondary damage. It scales up, most notably, with Ignite duration. The chances of exploding an enemy with Hindkora's explosion are low, so if you finally proc it, try to prolong the Ignite duration. Get some burning and Ignite damage as well. You shall heavily invest in your defenses as the damage comes mostly from enemies' density. For that, cap your fire res at 90% and get as much fire resistance over the cap as possible. It will increase your armor via the unique helmet. Chaos resistance is crucial too, the default 75% is enough. Life regeneration is not important, you will get a lot of it from Fire Mastery, but still a bit useful. Use a rare helmet only if it's a particularly good one, as the Formless Flame will much more likely be better. A rare helmet may redirect physical damage to be taken as fire, or increase your fire damage. There's not much to look for on gloves affixes, except for life, resistance, and armor. You can also seek generic life regeneration. For the Eldritch Implicits, get Fire Exposure as the blue one, and Ignite Proliferation, if you don't have Fan of Flames, or Fire Multiplier as the red one. There's also not much on a belt, only the most basic life, resistances, and armor. You can put some effort into finding a belt with various flask modifiers. Use ruby or amethyst rings for a lot of fire and chaos resistance, and combine them with suffixes with similar effects. Maximum life, multiplier, and life regeneration are also here to grab. Increased maximum life for a suffix, and resistances for prefixes are good enough on the jewels. You can look for some reservation efficiency or burning damage too if you need it. Nearly anything on a fire damage large cluster jewel is good, but Master of Fire for exposure is particularly useful if you cannot get it on your gloves. Medium cluster jewel. Fan of Flames is necessary if you don't have Ignite Proliferation on your gloves. All the other notables from a fire. Medium cluster jewel are acceptable, but we recommend Circling Oblivion for Ignite duration and Student of Decay for chaos resistance the most. To make the build extra tanky, get Progenesis. It's not necessary, but great for the aspirational content like Wave 30 of Simulacrum. For other flasks, get a life flask with bleed removal, a granite, basalt, and quicksilver flasks. For their suffixes seek increased armor, movement speed, and reduced effect of curses or shock on you. Righteous Fire deals fire damage over time around your character, which is high enough to quickly kill the white and blue monsters. You can easily sustain this self-inflicted damage. Link it with Burning Damage, Swift Affliction, Increased Area of Effect, Elemental Focus, and Life Tap support gems. Fire Trap deals fire damage and fire damage over time with its Burning Ground. It also ignites with the initial hit. The much more powerful Ignite from Hindkora passive will take over after it procs. Link it with Burning Damage, Life Tap, Empower, Controlled Destruction, and Trap and Mind Damage support gems. Determination adds and increases armor, quite crucial in this build. Use Purity of Fire for fire resistance and maximum fire resistance, which is important with the Formless Flame and the Valico passive. Level it up all the way to gem level 21 and sock it in a proper corrupted unique helmet or boots for another 2 levels. At level 23, with a 20% increased aura effect, From passives only, it grants plus 6% max fire res. Malevolence grants more damage over time and increased skill effect duration. Link these with Enlightened support to reduce their reservation cost. Use Frostblink to move around quickly and to apply Chill. Reflected back to you, it will increase your action speed via Winterweave. Link it with Bone Chill and Unbound Ailments to increase the effect of Chill, and with Life Tap support at level 1 for the global Life Tap buff. In this build, Molten Shell is extremely beneficial as it scales up with armor. It absorbs 75% of up to 5000 damage taken for 3 seconds on a 4-second cooldown. Herald of Ash enhances your clear speed in a manner similar to Legacy of Fury boots, and your damage. Arctic armor can be used instead if you want more durability while standing still. Vaal Breach opens a breach. The builds work better the more enemies are around you, which is the main issue as there are often none in a boss room. The Flammability Curse reduces the fire resistance of your enemies. With the Impresence Amulet, link it to Blasphemy and Elemental Weakness. If you need the extra 1% fire resistance, use low-level Vitality to reserve your life after linking it up with Arrogant support. Then, allocate a proper Reservation Mastery. You should not need to do that, but it's an option nonetheless. Kill all the bandits for the 2 extra skill points. Lunaris is good for a major god as it speeds you up, provides physical damage reduction, and protects you from projectiles. If you're freezing yourself with Frostblink, pick Brine King for freeze immunity instead. Soul of Shikari is good for reducing poison damage. Chaos damage over time is probably your biggest weakness. On the passive skill tree, get maximum life, armor, maximum fire resistance, regular fire resistance, chance to ignite, ignite damage, burning damage, damage over time, and sovereignty. For masteries, get 50 life from Life Mastery, life regeneration from overcapped fire resistance as your fire mastery, increased defenses as staff mastery, increased effect of auras as reservation mastery, 10% of armor applies to chaos damage taken as armor and energy shield mastery, increased ailment duration on enemies as dot mastery, increased reservation efficiency as mana mastery, and reduced effect of wither as protection mastery. That's all there is to it. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you liked the video or if you wish to stay updated on the new builds. Stay safe, see you soon.